Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be talking about South Korea and China, as well as America. I'd like to apologize about my last video's sound issues. It took me about 24 hours to upload it because YouTube had to do a lot of checks, and I think it's a sensitive subject, especially with Gaza and Palestine. So they tend to do more checks than normal. So a few times my upload had failed, but the third time it did work, but I realized afterwards the sound was mismatched, so I just can't be re-bothered to upload it again because it just took too long and it's a lot of hard work. So I'm just going to instead just focus on other videos. So today's topic, I'm going to be talking about South Korea and USA, as well as China. So you may or may not know that South Korea is in Washington at the moment, meeting with the president is meeting with Biden. So the president of South Korea, his name is Moon. So he's in Washington at the moment. So I gotta give him a lot of credit because a joint statement came out in Washington, and they did not mention China, and a lot of people were expecting a lot of hawks in America, and especially Biden was expecting South Korea to come and give an anti-China press conference, the same as what Japan did a few months ago. So I'm sure the Americans were pretty disappointed that South Korea has, decided to remain neutral. They had come, they were kind of very much hoping that South Korea would be able to join the Quad or join the group of countries which are encircling China and to kind of disrupt China and also to decouple with China as well. I think Biden wanted a lot of South Korean companies like Samsung to decouple with China and stop providing them with talent and machinery and chips and other technology. So what Moon has promised instead, he said he will get some of these companies to invest in USA instead, rather than decouple with China, because I'm going to explain later why they can't decouple with China. But I'm sure from this meeting, Americans, and you can see from Biden's face, he does not look happy. He looks pretty disappointed. Moon looks like he's, chest-faced. He's not giving too much away there. So yeah, in summary, America did not get what they wanted from South Korea. They were hoping South Korea would be more anti-China, talk a bit more about Taiwan, Hong Kong, things like that, like the Japanese Prime Minister did a few months ago, but that did not happen. So I want to discuss why South Korea did not bend the knee to Americans' will, really. So first of all, South Korea needs China a lot more than it needs America, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it's its biggest trading partner. So, number two, China is right on South Korea's doorstep, so it's within, and South Korea knows China is on the rise, and within 10 years China would become the number one powerhouse in the region, in the world, and it's in South Korea's interest to keep a good relationship with China. They are the biggest trade partner, and for having such a big superpower on your doorstep, literally trade between China and South Korea is only like 1 hour away by ship. They are talking about building railways linking China and South Korea, and also tunnels as well. So there's a lot more cooperation to come, and one of the biggest reasons South Korea needs China is North Korea, and South Korea knows pretty well that North Korea's only Achilles heel is China. China provides North Korea with a lot of aid. They provide North Korea with all these trade needs because North Korea is under heavy sanctions from the US, which meaning North Korea can't trade with any other country and except China. So China's the only country that North Korea can trade in, and obviously they got a border with China. So a lot of trade happens between China and North Korea. So North Korea is pretty much dependent on China. And now that China's slowly becoming super rich and becoming #1 powerhouse in the world, North Korea's economy is going to increase. I think in the past, when China was providing North Korea aid, it wasn't really that much because China was not as rich as it is now. But China becoming more rich, they will invest more in North Korea and provide North Korea with more help, and in turn there will be more trade between the two countries. And the other reason is China is not going to allow North Korea to collapse or North Korea to be attacked either by America or any other country, because one of the reasons that China joined the Korean War is because they did not want these imperial powers like the US to be right on China's doorstep if North Korea had lost. So it's within China's interest not to let North Korea collapse, and also it's China's interest not to let North Korea be invaded. So China would do anything and everything to stop North Korea from being invaded with the US or South Korea. So it's within South Koreans' interest to kind of be friendly with China, because any war between North Korea and South Korea, China would get involved, and you know there's thousands of missiles that China could throw at South Korea, as well as North Korean missiles, conventional missiles, but don't forget the nuclear missiles as well. South Korea would be totally destroyed in seconds if any war broke out, and South Korea know that, and forget about militarily. I mean, in terms of economy, South Korea has not been doing very well. A lot of South Korean companies are not doing very well, like Hyundai, LG. Last few years, those companies have been giving very, very poor results. A lot of South Korean companies are not doing well. The economy is very sluggish. They're having the same problem as Japan. They're struggling to push up the economy. So South Korea needs China a lot. It needs China a lot more than what China needs South Korea. And being its trade partner, and as well as having a very close neighbor, it's within South Korea's interest really, and especially with China being friends with Russia as well. South Korea is completely surrounded with China and Russia, and it's within their interest to be good friendly relationships with China. And America doesn't really understand that. America wants to push South Korea to be in the Quad and push South Korea to be more anti-China, but they're not going to fall in the same trap as Australia and Japan. And you can see what's happening to Australia, the way China is punishing them where it hurts in their economy. And Japan, I'm sorry to say, but I think a couple of nuclear bombs that hit Japan has completely shaken the Japanese people, the public, the politicians. Now they're completely puppets of US. And if there's a country in the world that should really shut up and not talk about China's red lines, like the Japanese Prime Minister did a few months ago, talk about Taiwan and talk about Hong Kong and Senkaku Islands and things like that. If there's one country that should have just shut the fuck up, it should be Japan, because Japan was part of the 100-year humiliation that China had. And at the time, China was poor, was an easy target, and Japan, they basically raped and pillaged China. They took away their treasures, they killed and murdered so many people, civilians, they raped a lot of women. Japan has caused a lot of atrocities against China, and China would love to destroy Japan. Trust me, they would love to destroy Japan if they had a chance. China, it's not that long ago, and China has not forgotten the atrocities that Japan has caused. So Japan coming to America and talking about China's red lines and Taiwan issues and things, they're basically trying to shoot themselves in the foot, because right now China is 100 times, even 1,000 times more powerful than they were 50 years ago when they were easy targets, and they can take out Japan in an instant. Japan's got no nuclear weapons, and even conventional weapons wise, China would easily take down Japan. So I think Japan needs to really watch out what they say against China, especially in the red lines. And if there's one country in the world that just needs to shut up about Taiwan, it is Japan. And so anyway, I'm kind of talking about Japan when I should really be talking about South Korea. So the other reason South Korea did not fall into demands of the Americans is there's not much trust in the Americans, really. The reason is South Korea has been asking Americans' help to denuclearize North Korea, and Americans been doing nothing. I mean, this has been talked about for years and years and years. One administration after another administration. It's just the same old thing. They talk about denuclearization in the Korean Peninsula, but what happens? They just put a bunch of sanctions in North Korea and just see if that will do the trick. Has it really done the trick? They've been putting sanctions on North Korea for, I think, for 20 years now, or even more. Has it really done the trick? No. Has North Korean has North Korea collapsed? No. North Korea will always get help from China, and China will always will not allow North Korea to kind of destabilize or be destroyed. The sanctions are not going to help. And now with China's becoming more and more powerful, and especially if in the next 10 years it's going to be the number one superpower. I can see North Koreans' economy start shooting up because China will help North Korea a lot, and their trade will increase, and I think China will build a lot of factories in North Korea because of cheap labor. Because at the time, in 10 years time, it'll be very expensive to kind of open factories and labor in China. So what a lot of companies in China will do, they will open up factories in North Korea, and they will also open up a port which will go on the Arctic Sea route. So if there's a port in going north throughout the Arctic, there will be a massive port created in North Korea. China's also building a Bohai tunnel from the city Dalian, which will link Dalian and North Korea to the rest of China. So there's a lot of work happening over the next 10 years, and I can see in 10 years North Korean economy starts shooting up, and in 10 years American sanctions is not going to matter, because with the Chinese money and also the digital yuan, they can overcome the sanctions. They don't have to go through American sanctions anymore. The digital yuan will kind of eradicate all of that. So what I'm saying is also South Korean, there's not much trust between America on other issues as well. American soldiers being in South Korea, is not good for South Korea, mainly because the South Korean public is completely against having American soldiers there. So right now, South Korea is paying half, and America is paying half for American soldiers to be there, and it doesn't really cause any benefit, really. I mean, having the soldiers there, it just helps destabilize the whole area even more. I mean, look at American soldiers, what they've done to the Middle East. Can you see? Look how destabilized the Middle East is, and it's all down to America. American, we're fighting wars over there. American soldiers being there, it just causes more anti-American feeling. It just causes more destabilization. And American soldiers being in South Korea, it just causes more issues, to be honest, between North Korea, South Korea, and China. And while American soldiers are there, there will never be peace between North and South and China. I mean, if American soldiers had gone, I'm pretty sure that North Korea will start dialogue with South Korea, and China would get involved, and China would say, look, it's time for South Korea to push aside America and start working with North Korea and start working with China, because we are neighbors after all. So, I mean, that's what's happening. Another reason why there's no trust between South Koreans and Americans is, the South Korean public is completely against this, having soldiers in South Korea for a couple of reasons, actually. Number one, the South Korean soldiers, basically, they get away with murder. There was a case when a couple of American soldiers killed a Korean girl, raped and killed her, and they basically got away with murder. One of the things these soldiers have in South Korea, they have immunity. So if they cause murder in South Korea, they are not allowed to be tried in South Korean courts, basically. So those soldiers pretty much go away with murder. They didn't get tried in American as well. They just got kicked out of the army. So nothing really happens. It's pretty much they can do whatever they want. And there was a few cases of American soldiers raping Korean girls, actually. So they just get away with it, really, and they just raping Korea and just getting away with it. And the public in South Korea just had enough. And a lot of public are saying American soldiers being there is the cause of all the destabilization, and there would have been peace between North Korea and South Korea, years ago if American soldiers were not there. So I think what South Korean president is doing now, he is sitting on the fence, but he's doing the right thing. He's not giving in to American pressure. He's not come out and said anti-China. He's not even mentioned China in the press conference, which is very good on him, even though I'm sure he had a lot of pressure from Americans to do so. So he's come out of this with a lot of respect, and China is, kind of respecting South Korea's stance on this. And I can see the relationship will improve, but there is still distrust there between South Korea because they're housing American soldiers in their soil. So there is still a lot of distrust, and I think if South Korea once just gets rid of the American soldiers, I'm sure peace will kind of reign in that area. I mean, if you think about it, guys, I mean, if there was a war between South Korea and North Korea, I mean, have a look. I mean, this is South Korea, and they have amazing architecture, amazing buildings. So if there was a war between South Korea and North Korea, who do you think stands to lose more? Is it the South or is it the North? The North is pretty much, there's nothing there in the North, guys. I mean, it's a very impoverished country. It's a third world country. They barely have enough food to feed their own people, let alone build any buildings or architecture over there. But the South has got amazing buildings, they've got amazing architecture. They have more to lose in a war with North Korea, and they know that if the war ever breaks out, North Korea, with their thousands of missiles pointed at South Korea, and I'm sure China will join in with North Korea as well. South Korea will be blown into smithereens, and all the amazing architecture they've built, and it'll be gone in seconds. So South Korea has definitely got more to lose than North Korea. So if South Korea fights back against North Korea, they really don't have much to blow up, really. Most of the North Korean missiles and installations are hidden underground, and North Korea is pretty much a military country, and all of the money they do have is spent on military, really. So it's within the interest of South Korea to kind of make peace with North Korea, and only one way they can do this is to get rid of the American army. And the American army being there, they've been there over, I mean, how long now? Over 50, 60, 70 years. It's just and has there been peace between North Korea and South Korea? No. I mean, all the Americans do is they do what they always do, just apply sanctions to North Korea, and that's all they can do. They never play an active part for denuclearization. They don't even hold any talks. They're just relying on China, really, and now China's not going to help them, especially with anti-China stuff going on. China did try and help a few years ago when relationships were pretty good between South Korea and United States, and China did force North Korea to kind of sign the deal and denuclearize and things like that. And I'm sure if China and South Korea were in better relationship, had a better relationship, China would, try and force North Korea to get rid of their nuclear weapons. I mean, if China gives guarantees to North Korea, look guys, you guys don't need nuclear weapons, we will protect you. We've got all the nuclear weapons. If America or South Korea try and invade, then we will come to your aid. We've got all the nuclear weapons. We'll provide you the umbrella. We'll provide you with economic help. So just get rid of your nuclear weapons and open up your economy and watch your country grow. And I'm sure that could be done. So yeah, I just want to kind of give my respects to South Korean leader. Really, it's a shame America could not get South Korea to be another puppet for them. They also wanted a lot of South Korean companies like Samsung to decouple from China, but they can't decouple with China because China is their biggest trade partner, and they make a lot of and South Korean companies make a lot of money in China. They're not going to suddenly just decouple because of American wishes, So I'm glad this has happened, really, and I'm sure China is looking into this, and China is, thinking, these South Korean guys are pretty good, but yeah, there's still a lot of distrust there, guys, because if for instance, South Korea asked China to denuclearize North Korea and stuff, and China does everything, they denuclearize North Korea, then suddenly America comes in, and the next president comes in and is very pro-American, and he has completely different views, and he could be very pro-American, and he could be much more of a puppet than this guy is, like the Japanese prime minister. It just depends who becomes prime minister. If one prime minister comes and becomes a puppet of the American government, he could easily say, I want to do everything Americans say, I want to decouple from China, blah blah blah, and start giving out anti-American rhetoric, anti-Chinese rhetoric and anti-Chinese press conferences. And that's what's happened to Australia, that's what's happened to Japan. So it just depends on who comes and leads South Korea, really. But trust me, it's not in best interest of South Korea to do so. And I'm pretty sure South Koreans are a lot more intelligent than Japanese and Australians. Pretty sure they'll be very careful what they do and say, especially against China. So let me know what you guys think, guys, and let's have a chat in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye.